All right, let's talk about something that's puzzled people for a long, long time. Global inequality. Why is it that in a world with so much wealth, so many countries just can't seem to get ahead? Well, today we're diving into dependency theory, a pretty radical idea that says this inequality isn't some accident. It's actually built right into the system. So yeah, here it is, the central puzzle. For decades, this has been the big question. With all our modern technology, with our interconnected world, why are so many nations just stuck? Why aren't they developing? The usual answer you hear is that it's their own fault. Things like bad economic decisions, maybe a corrupt government, or a political instability. And look, those things definitely don't help. But dependency theorists started to wonder, what if that's not the whole story? Because back in the 1960s, a bunch of really sharp thinkers, mostly from Central and South America, looked at this exact problem and said, hang on, we think something else is going on here. And they started looking outside of these countries for the real cause. And this was their bombshell idea. What if the problem isn't just internal mistakes? What if the whole global system, the entire international structure, was actively designed to hold these countries back? Now that is a question that changes everything. And that right there is the core of dependency theory. It basically argues that the global system isn't some level playing field. Nope. It's an exploitative hierarchy built on the dominance of a few powerful countries over everyone else. So how does this whole system actually work? Let's break down its three main arguments. Okay, argument number one is all about the structure of the world economy. Dependency theorists don't see a collection of equal countries. They see a very clear hierarchy, almost like a pyramid, based on an international division of labor. And this hierarchy has four main levels. At the very top, you've got what they call the center of the center. Think the US, the UK, they control all the high-tech stuff, the big money, the research and development. Just below them is the periphery of the center, countries like Canada or Japan, super wealthy but with a bit less global clout. Then you get to the center of the periphery. These are developing nations like Brazil or India, and their main job really is to serve the countries at the top. And finally, at the very bottom, you have the periphery of the periphery, the poorest countries whose entire economies are basically set up to extract raw materials and provide cheap labor for everybody else. So you can see what's happening, right? It's an all roads lead to Rome kind of deal. The whole system is structured so that wealth, resources, and power are constantly flowing from the bottom tiers up to the very top. Okay, but a hierarchy like this doesn't just maintain itself. So what holds it all together? Well, the theory's second argument points to a pretty surprising alliance that keeps this whole system humming along. And here's a really interesting twist. The theory says this structure isn't just between countries, it's also within them. In every single one of those four tiers, from the richest to the poorest, you have a small, very wealthy elite, and then you have the much, much larger working class. And here's the real kicker. The theory argues these elites don't just stay in their own countries. They actually cooperate with each other across borders. So the elite in a poor country will work with the elite in a rich country. Why? Because by working together to keep this global system in place, they all secure their own personal power and wealth, even if it comes at the expense of the majority of people in their own countries. So we've got the global hierarchy, and we've got this elite alliance holding it all together. The third and final piece of the puzzle is all about the rules of the game they all play by, which is, fundamentally, the system of global capitalism. According to the theory, this system is held up by structures that look neutral but really aren't. Think about huge international institutions like the World Bank or the IMF. They might offer loans, but those loans often come with strings attached, conditions that end up benefiting multinational corporations from the rich countries, not the local folks. The same goes for the dominant theories about trade, finance, even global media. They all push rules that just happen to favor the already powerful. So the crucial takeaway here is this. From a dependency perspective, the whole point of these global systems and institutions is not to create a world of equal opportunity where every nation can thrive. No, their real function is to maintain the hierarchy. They're tools designed to promote the continued dominance of the core and the exploitation of the periphery. It's as simple as that. So when you put it all together, you take that global hierarchy, you add in the elite alliance, and you mix in these biased rules of the game, you get the theory's pretty bleak final verdict, what it calls the underdevelopment trap. And that word is so important. Notice it's not undeveloped, as in they just haven't gotten there yet. It's underdeveloped, which implies an active process. It's a condition where countries are being systematically and intentionally prevented from developing by the very system they're a part of. And that just brings us to the core dilemma, doesn't it? I mean, think about it. If the whole game is rigged against you, if the system itself is designed to keep you down, how on earth is any country supposed to break out of that cycle and actually develop on its own terms? And this is exactly why dependency theory, even though it's decades old, is still so relevant. Its supporters say it offers a powerful explanation for why, even after all the talk about globalization, we still see such deep poverty and just staggering inequality all over the world. So I'll leave you with this final thought to chew on. When you look at the world today, at global finance, at international trade, at all the power dynamics, do you think this theory still helps explain the massive inequality we see all around us? It's a heavy question, but one worth thinking about. Thanks for tuning in.